The church smelled of fresh flowers and polished wood, a scent that should have felt comforting. Yet today it seemed heavy, laden with unspoken tension. Guests whispered softly in their seats, their eyes fixed on the aisle where she paused, her fingers trembling ever so slightly around the delicate lace of her wedding gown. She had dreamed of this day countless times, imagining herself gliding down the aisle toward the man she had agreed to marry. But something, or rather someone, made her heart falter mid-step. From the corner of her eye, she saw him, the billionaire she had once loved, standing quietly in the back of the church. His gaze was intense, filled with an emotion that both startled and captivated her. Time seemed to slow as her memories rushed in. Late-night conversations, moments of laughter and shared dreams, the way he had always believed in her when others doubted. And now, in the silence of the church, his eyes seemed to call her back, tugging at a part of her she had tried to bury. The groom, waiting at the altar, noticed her pause. His smile faltered, and unease flickered across his face. He had assumed that this wedding was certain, a transaction as much as a promise, but her hesitation introduced a dangerous uncertainty. Whispers began to ripple through the congregation. Some guests leaned forward, curious. Others exchanged worried glances, sensing the tension in the air. The bride's mind raced. She had tried to convince herself that the past was behind her, that she had moved on, that this man, the one kneeling quietly in the back, was just a memory. Yet his presence seemed to pull at the very threads of her heart, reminding her of promises never fully fulfilled, of love interrupted, and of choices that could not be undone. Her steps faltered again, and for the first time in months, she felt fear. Not of the wedding, but of what leaving it unchallenged would mean. Could she truly go forward without facing the truth? Without confronting the man who had shaped her life in ways the groom never could? And so, she stood there, caught between two worlds, while the church held its breath. Suddenly, he moved. The billionaire, whose calm had seemed unshakable, fell to his knees in the aisle, right before everyone. The sound of his knees hitting the polished floor seemed to echo through the church, silencing murmurs and gasps alike. His hands rose slightly, palms open in a gesture of vulnerability that no one expected. "I cannot let you do this," he said, his voice steady yet charged with raw emotion. "I have made mistakes, yes, but my feelings, my love for you, have never wavered. Please, don't walk away from the truth between us." Gasps and murmurs spread like wildfire. The groom's face drained of color. For a moment, pride and shock battled across his features, and even the guests leaned forward instinctively, caught in a moment of raw human drama. Nobody had anticipated this, nobody except perhaps her, who now realized that this confrontation was unavoidable. The bride's hands clutched her gown tighter. She felt the weight of every choice she had made, every promise, every fear that had led her to this exact moment. The eyes of the congregation were upon her, yet she felt as if no one existed except for the man kneeling before her. The world outside the church melted away, leaving only the history they had shared, the words left unsaid, and the love that had never truly died. He continued, his voice softening now, tremors of desperation slipping through. "I will respect your choice if you leave, but I had to be honest. I had to show you, and everyone here, that love is not something you can ignore, something you can push aside. Please, just listen." The air was thick with tension. The bride's mind raced through every memory, every moment of doubt, every decision that had brought her here. And as she looked at him, kneeling, exposed, and unwavering, something inside her shifted. The groom, realizing the depth of the moment, stepped back, a mix of confusion, anger, and helplessness flickering across his face. The power dynamics of the wedding had shifted in a heartbeat, and everyone in the church felt it. And then, just as she opened her mouth to respond, the billionaire reached into his pocket and produced a small, elegantly crafted box. He opened it slowly, revealing a ring that shimmered under the soft light, its brilliance rivaled only by the intensity of his gaze. "I know I cannot demand anything," he said, "but if there is even a chance that your heart remembers, that your soul still recognizes us, please, let me show you what we could still have." The congregation was silent, spellbound by the raw emotion of the moment. Every eye, every breath, seemed to hold the answer that the bride now needed to give. Her heart thundered in her chest, the sound almost deafening, as the weight of a lifetime of choices pressed down on her. Could she take the step she had once feared? Could she finally confront the truth of her heart, right here, in front of everyone who had come to witness her wedding? The decision hung in the air, as fragile and tense as the last breath before a storm. And in that moment, with the billionaire's eyes locked onto hers, vulnerable yet unwavering, she realized that life would never offer her a chance like this again. Not in a hall of whispers, not in the glare of family expectations, not in the carefully constructed world she had built for herself. This was the truth, raw and undeniable, and it demanded acknowledgement. The church felt like it had shrunk to the space between them, the air charged with a quiet intensity that made every heartbeat audible. She stood frozen, her mind a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. Every step she had taken toward the groom had now felt meaningless, replaced by the gravity of the man kneeling before her. Memories assaulted her like waves, late nights spent under starlit skies, laughter echoing in empty streets, shared dreams whispered softly between them when the world felt too big to handle alone. She remembered the first time he had held her hand, a gesture so simple, yet powerful enough to make her believe in love again. And now, years later, those memories were not just recollections. They were a living, breathing force, demanding acknowledgement. Her pulse raced as she tried to sort through the chaos in her mind. The groom, standing silently at the altar, had been nothing but kind and respectful, a man she had agreed to marry out of practicality and societal expectation. But kindness could not erase a past that had shaped her soul, and practicality could not challenge the resonance of a love so deep it had left its mark on every fiber of her being. The billionaire remained on his knees, unwavering, his eyes a mirror of everything she had longed for and feared. "I know I cannot change the past," he said softly, "and I know that my timing has always been imperfect, but what I feel now is undeniable, and I would rather kneel before you in front of the world than live another day hiding the truth." Her breath hitched, and the world seemed to tilt around her. She could hear the faint rustle of fabric as guests shifted in their seats, the quiet gasps, the whispered prayers. Everyone was waiting for her decision, yet she felt as though she were the only one who mattered in that moment. The crowd melted away, leaving only two hearts suspended between regret and hope. Tears welled in her eyes as she struggled to speak. I never thought I'd see you again," she whispered, her voice trembling. The words hung in the air like fragile glass, delicate yet impossible to ignore. "I thought I had to move on, that life had its path, and that path didn't include you." He reached out, his hand hovering just short of hers, respecting her space but bridging the gap of time that had separated them. "Life may have brought us here," he said, "but it does not have to dictate where we go next. I'm asking you to trust your heart, even if it scares you, even if it surprises everyone here." She swallowed hard, her thoughts colliding in chaotic waves. What would it mean to step away from the life she had meticulously planned, to challenge expectations, to defy the certainty of a groom who waited patiently but could never compete with the raw power of history, love, and unfinished stories? The weight of choice pressed down on her like the heaviest stone. And yet, amid the fear and uncertainty, a spark of clarity ignited. This moment, messy, imperfect, human, was not about convenience or social norms. It was about authenticity, about embracing the truth of the heart even when it demanded courage that she had thought she no longer possessed. Her hands, trembling, reached tentatively toward him. The crowd held its collective breath. She felt the warmth of his fingers brush against hers, a connection that spoke louder than words, stronger than the years of absence. The world seemed to exhale around them, as if acknowledging the inevitability of this moment. The silence that followed was heavy with expectation, yet comforting in its intimacy. He held her gaze, his grip gentle yet insistent, as if grounding her amidst the storm of emotions that threatened to consume her. For the first time in years, she felt truly seen, not for her role, her decisions, or the life she had chosen, but for the person she had always been, the one he had known before the world interfered. The groom, still waiting at the altar, finally stepped forward. His expression was unreadable: hurt, confusion, and perhaps a glimmer of understanding intertwined. Is this about the past?" he asked cautiously, his voice calm but edged with tension. "Do you still feel something for him?" Her heart ached, not just for the dilemma she faced, but for the honesty she now had to express. I never stopped feeling something for him," she admitted, her voice breaking. "I thought I had to suppress it, that life demanded a certain path. But love doesn't always follow rules." The billionaire squeezed her hand, his own emotions brimming beneath the surface. Yet he kept his composure, allowing her to navigate her truth. "We cannot change what has already happened," he said gently, "but we can choose what happens next. I am here, willing to face everything, willing to stand in front of the world for us." Her eyes welled with tears, memories of lost moments flooding back. He had been there when she had faltered, when doubt and fear threatened to consume her. And now, standing here, he offered not only his love but his unwavering presence. A promise that this time, he would not allow circumstances or fear to separate them. The congregation remained silent, aware that they were witnessing a private moment of profound significance. Some guests had tears in their eyes, sensing the depth of connection that transcended social expectation and ritual. Others were frozen, unsure how to react, caught in the tension of an unexpected revelation. She took a deep breath, summoning courage she hadn't realized she still possessed. "I cannot deny what I feel," she confessed, voice steadier now, filled with determination. "I need to follow my heart, even if it means defying everything I thought I knew about myself." He rose slowly, standing before her now, a mixture of relief and awe on his face. The intensity of the moment was overwhelming, yet grounding. He lifted her hands to his lips, pressing a gentle kiss to her knuckles, a gesture of respect, love, and the unspoken promise that they would face the world together, whatever came next. The guests shifted, murmurs rising, but she barely noticed. The world beyond the church walls was secondary to the truth she had finally embraced. This was her moment, her choice, her reclamation of love that had never truly faded. In that moment, a quiet clarity settled over her. She realized that life was not about the perfection of plans, nor about avoiding heartbreak. It was about honesty, courage, and the willingness to embrace the unpredictability of the heart. And as she looked at the man who had waited for her, never faltering in his devotion, she knew that the story they were about to write together would be worth every risk, every challenge, and every societal expectation they might have to confront. The air in the church remained taut with anticipation. Every eye was on her, yet she felt as though she were alone with him, the man whose presence had ignited feelings she thought had been buried under years of practicality and careful planning. Her pulse raced, not with fear, but with a strange exhilaration, the kind that only comes when life surprises you with a truth so profound that everything else fades into insignificance. He leaned in slightly, whispering softly, "There's something you need to know, something I've held back, not because I wanted to hide it from you, but because I wanted to protect you." His voice trembled with emotion, a rare crack in the otherwise composed facade of the billionaire she had once known so intimately. Her brow furrowed, curiosity and apprehension mingling in equal measure. "What is it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The church seemed impossibly large, yet impossibly small, every sound amplified. The soft rustle of silk, the murmur of the crowd, the beating of her own heart. He straightened, the weight of the moment pressing down on him. "We have a child," he said, each word deliberate, heavy with meaning. Her breath caught, her mind stuttering. A child? She had never imagined such a revelation would come in this way, at this moment, in front of everyone. The implications hit her like a tidal wave. A small figure stepped forward from the pews, a little girl clutching a tiny bouquet. She looked shy but confident, her eyes wide and innocent, mirroring the same piercing gaze that had held her in thrall all these years. She was unmistakably his child, a living testament to a love that had never truly died. Tears welled in her eyes as memories of the past collided with the reality of the present. She remembered the secret meetings, the stolen moments, the unspoken promises. They were no longer memories. They had manifested into life itself, into the tiny hand reaching out to her now. She knelt slowly, gathering the child into her arms, feeling the warmth and heartbeat that connected them in ways words never could. The guests watched in stunned silence. The groom at the altar seemed frozen, struggling to comprehend the magnitude of what had just unfolded. Some murmured in shock, while others looked on with tears streaming down their faces, understanding that they were witnessing a love story that defied convention and expectation. Her heart raced, but clarity emerged amidst the emotional chaos. This child was a bridge between the past and the present, a tangible embodiment of a love that had never been extinguished. She looked up at him, her eyes meeting his with an intensity that left no room for doubt. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" she asked, her voice trembling yet firm. "I wanted to," he admitted, "but I was afraid. Afraid of how you would react, afraid of complicating your life. But seeing you here, standing at the crossroads of love and obligation, I realized that nothing could be more important than honesty. I am here now, fully, ready to face the consequences with you." She clutched the child close, the weight of responsibility and love mingling in her chest. The world around them seemed to blur, leaving only the three of them in a cocoon of vulnerability, hope, and undeniable truth. She realized that life's greatest moments often arrived unannounced, demanding courage, patience, and the willingness to embrace the unexpected. As the ceremony continued, she understood that her choice had become clear. Love was not about convenience or societal expectation. It was about the heart, about acknowledging the connections that defined her existence. And as she held the child, feeling the steady heartbeat against her chest, she knew that this revelation was not a complication. It was the beginning of a new chapter, a chapter where authenticity, courage, and the power of love would guide every step. The church seemed suspended in time, every sound muted except for the gentle murmur of her own thoughts. She had always prided herself on control, on careful planning, on following a path that minimized surprises and safeguarded her heart. Yet now, standing at the intersection of love, responsibility, and revelation, she realized that life had its own plans, far grander and more intricate than anything she could orchestrate. He remained by her side, unwavering, his presence a steady anchor amidst the storm of emotions threatening to sweep her away. "You don't have to decide right now," he said softly, "but know that I am here, not as a shadow from the past, but as someone who wants to build the future with you." Her mind raced, weighing the impossible. The life she had envisioned with the groom, a life of stability and respectability, versus the raw, unfiltered reality of the man before her, the child they shared, and the love that had never truly faded. It was not an easy choice. It was a crucible that demanded courage she hadn't realized she still possessed. The guests were silent, sensing the significance of her internal struggle. Some leaned forward, curiosity and empathy mingling in their eyes, understanding that the resolution of this moment would define not just the course of a ceremony, but the trajectory of a life. She closed her eyes, taking a deep, deliberate breath. Memories flooded her mind. The laughter, the shared dreams, the whispered promises in the quiet of night. She remembered the warmth of his hand, the strength of his gaze, and the unwavering devotion that had never faltered despite time and distance. She also thought of the groom, who had waited patiently, whose kindness and steadiness were undeniable. And yet, the answer resonated in her heart, undeniable and clear. Life had offered her a choice, but it was not just about selecting between two men. It was about choosing authenticity, embracing the truth, and honoring the bonds that had never truly been broken. Her eyes opened, shining with determination. "I know what I have to do," she said, her voice calm yet resolute. "This is not about regret or fear. It's about love, honesty, and the life we are meant to build, together." He smiled, relief and joy mingling in his expression, a quiet understanding passing between them. The child nestled in her arms giggled softly, a sound that seemed to seal the moment, transforming tension into the warm certainty of connection and family. The groom stepped back, his expression unreadable but his posture dignified. He nodded slowly, acknowledging that some forces, some truths, could not be denied. "I wish you both happiness," he said quietly, his voice carrying a mixture of sorrow and acceptance. "It seems some stories are bigger than our expectations." As the ceremony drew to a close, she felt a sense of liberation, as though a weight she hadn't realized she carried had finally lifted. She held the child close, looking at the man who had never stopped believing in them, and knew that the future, though uncertain, was theirs to define. Outside the church, sunlight streamed through the stained glass, casting vibrant patterns across the marble floor. The world was waiting, and for the first time in years, she felt ready to face it. Not with fear or hesitation, but with courage, clarity, and an unwavering commitment to the truth of her heart. The following days were a whirlwind of emotions, meetings, and decisions. Life outside the church walls was not simpler. It was infinitely more complicated, yet infinitely more real. She found herself sitting in the quiet of the penthouse they had once shared, the soft hum of the city beneath them serving as a backdrop to the storm raging within her heart. He entered the room without knocking, as he always had, a familiar presence that carried both reassurance and intensity. His eyes met hers, and in that gaze, she saw a reflection of the years they had spent apart, the love that had endured, and the trials that had shaped them into the people standing in this room now. "We need to confront everything," he said softly, yet firmly. "The secrets, the misunderstandings, the choices we made when we thought we had no other options. We owe it to ourselves and to her," he added, glancing at the child playing quietly in the corner. "To be honest and complete." Her heart ached at the weight of his words. Confronting the past was never easy. It meant peeling back layers of protection, revealing vulnerabilities, and accepting the pain that came with honesty. But she also knew that avoiding it was no longer an option. The truth had a way of finding its own light, and she was determined to face it head-on. They sat together at the table, documents spread out before them, memories resurrected in every photograph, every letter, every forgotten memento. They spoke for hours, recounting the past with honesty and clarity, acknowledging mistakes, and embracing the moments that had defined their bond. "It wasn't always easy," she admitted, her voice trembling. "There were times I thought I could move on, times I thought I could forget, but every choice I made led me back to this moment, to you, to her." He reached across the table, taking her hand in his. "And every choice I made, every risk I took, was with the hope that one day, we would find our way back to each other. Not as we were, but as we are now, stronger, wiser, and unafraid to face the truth." As the hours passed, they realized that confronting the past was not about blame. It was about understanding, healing, and creating a foundation for the future. They laughed at old mistakes, cried at lost opportunities, and marveled at the resilience that had carried them through years of separation. Outside, the city moved on, oblivious to the quiet revolution unfolding in the penthouse. Yet within those walls, a new chapter was being written, a chapter defined by honesty, courage, and the unwavering power of love. She understood that life's most profound lessons often came wrapped in challenges, and the reward was not just happiness, but the strength to embrace it fully. By the time night fell, the room was filled with a sense of calm and purpose. The child, exhausted from a day of play and observation, slept peacefully, a living reminder of the love that had endured. They sat together, hand in hand, hearts aligned, ready to face whatever the world had in store. "This is just the beginning," he whispered. "We have a lifetime ahead, and nothing can take that away." She nodded, her eyes reflecting the depth of emotion she felt. "A lifetime," she echoed, the words carrying the weight of promise and commitment. And for the first time in years, she believed it truly and completely. The morning of the announcement arrived with a sense of anticipation and quiet excitement. Friends, family, and colleagues had gathered, unaware of the journey that had led to this moment. The air was thick with curiosity, but she felt only a serene confidence. The past had been confronted, truths had been revealed, and now it was time to step into the future fully. He stood beside her, a steady presence that radiated reassurance. The child clutched her hand, eyes bright and innocent, unaware of the gravity of the world around her, but fully immersed in the love surrounding her. Together, they were a symbol of resilience, authenticity, and the transformative power of honesty. The ceremony was simple yet profoundly moving. As she walked forward, every step felt purposeful, a declaration of the choices she had made, the truths she had embraced, and the love that had endured beyond time and circumstance. Guests watched, captivated not just by the spectacle, but by the authenticity that radiated from every gesture, every glance, every smile. When they exchanged vows, there was no pretense, no obligation. Only the raw, unfiltered truth of two hearts committed to each other and to the life they were about to build together. The words carried the weight of years, of challenges faced and overcome, and of a future that was theirs to shape. As the officiant pronounced them united, the crowd erupted in applause, but their attention remained focused inward, on the shared journey that had brought them here. She felt a profound sense of completion, not as an end, but as a beginning, a launch into a life defined by courage, love, and unwavering commitment. The reception that followed was filled with laughter, tears, and celebration. Stories were shared, memories revisited, and a new community was formed around the family that had emerged from the trials of the past. Every toast, every smile, every embrace reinforced the truth that life's most extraordinary moments often arise from the most unexpected circumstances. Later, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow across the city, they stood together, looking out over the world they had chosen to face as a united front. The child nestled between them, a living testament to love, resilience, and the enduring power of truth. "I never imagined it would come to this," she admitted softly, leaning into him. "Not in a million years." "Neither did I," he replied, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "But I also know that nothing we have now would exist without the struggles, the revelations, and the courage to embrace what truly matters." She smiled, feeling a profound sense of peace. The past had been acknowledged, the present embraced, and the future was theirs to shape. And in that moment, she understood that life's most meaningful journeys were not about perfection, but about honesty, love, and the courage to face every challenge together. As they walked forward, hand in hand, hearts aligned, and eyes bright with hope, she knew that this was more than a wedding. It was a declaration of life's extraordinary potential, a testament to the power of love to transcend time circumstance, and even the most daunting obstacles. And as the city lights flickered to life below them, illuminating the path ahead, she realized that every step forward was not just a continuation, but a bold affirmation of the journey they had chosen. A journey filled with love, resilience, and the unwavering promise of a new beginning.